Absalom, person, Heb Absalom, var. Absalom, 1. Third son of David. His mother was a foreigner, Maacah, daughter of Talmai, king of Jessa. He was one of 6 sons born to David at Hebron by 6 different wives. He was at the center of a long-running series of troubles that David had with his sons. He killed his older brother Amnon and later rebelled against David himself. Absalom first appears in the story of Amnon's rape of their sister Tamar. After the rape was committed, Absalom hated Amnon with the same hatred that the latter had shown for Tamar, and he bided his time for revenge. After 2 years, Absalom was able to lure Amnon, who himself had lured his sister into a trap, as well as all the king's sons to festivities at Baal-hazor, near Ephraim, during the time of sheep shearing. There, Absalom had Amnon killed and the brothers fled. David first mourned the death of Amnon, and then he mourned the absence of Absalom, who had fled to his mother's household in Jessa, where he remained for 3 years. David appears here and throughout as a noble, yet somewhat passive and detached hero. Absalom was finally brought back through the efforts of Joab, David's general and nephew. In an episode reminiscent of Nathan's parable that entrapped David into acknowledging his sin, Joab recruited a wise woman from Tekoa to masquerade as a bereaved mother whose remaining son's life was threatened. When David's compassion led him to intercede, she pointed out to him that Absalom's lot was the same as her son's. Acknowledging her point, David restored Absalom from exile, but perhaps showed considerable insensitivity in not allowing him to come into his presence for 2 years. At this point we are told of Absalom's great beauty, just as his sister had been beautiful, and his full head of hair. A reconciliation with his father finally was brought about after some persistence on Absalom's part. Immediately thereafter, Absalom began an active campaign of subversion against his father. Just as people had admired his great beauty, so they now admired what they saw as his great wisdom. He conspired to be made king at Hebron, his birthplace and, ironically, the place of his father's acclamation as king and early reign over Judah and all Israel. The duration of this campaign is uncertain. It was likely 40 days or 4 years, and not the 40 years of the Mount at 15-7, see Conroy 1978, 106-7, n. 40. In the narrative, Absalom temporarily fades into the background after 1512. The story now focuses on David's flight to the Jordan River and his encounters with various opponents and supporters along the way. As the conspiracy gained supporters, David was persuaded to flee from Jerusalem, along with his household and warriors loyal to him. Among these loyal ones was Ittai, leader of 600 men from Gath and one of 3 generals who led the climactic battle against Absalom. David directed the priests Abiathar and Zadok that the ark should not accompany him in his flight, a contrast with earlier attitudes toward the ark. David also met Ziba and Shimei, foreshadowing later events unrelated to Absalom. After David's departure, Absalom was able to enter Jerusalem without resistance. Ahithophel, David's respected counselor, had joined Absalom, and he advised him to consolidate his position as king by taking his father's concubines, which Absalom did. He also counseled a selective strike that would kill only David. To counter Ahithophel's defection, David had enlisted one Hushai, the Archite, who then entered Absalom's court as a spy. Hushai, acting in David's interests, advised a large-scale mobilization instead, and Absalom took his advice, prompting the rejected Ahithophel to commit suicide. YHWH's hand was evident in this. Since Ahithophel's advice had been good counsel, the delay in mobilization allowed Hushai to send word to David about Absalom's plans via the 2 priests' sons Ahimaaz and Jonathan, setting the stage for the military confrontation. The confrontation took place across the Jordan, in the dense forest of Ephraim and Gilead. Absalom's forces were no match for David's seasoned followers, and many were lost to the sword or to the forest. The narrative slows to describe the death of Absalom and its announcement to David. Absalom's hair had gotten caught in a tree in the dense woods, and Joab killed him, aided by 10 of his armor-bearers. The suspense builds as David awaits word of the battle, brought by two messengers. The moving climax is reached abruptly, in David's reaction to his son's death and his poignant lament. Absalom had 3 sons, and a comely daughter whom he named after his sister. In light of 1818, it appears that his sons died early in life. If he is the Absalom of 2 Kings 15-2:10, then he had another daughter, or granddaughter, named for his mother, Maacah, contra the OG reading of 2 Sam 14:27b. She was the wife of Rehoboam, mother of Abijam, and grandmother of Asa. The Absalom's monument that he built to commemorate his own name due to his lack of heirs is not the Absalom's tomb that can be seen today on the eastern slope of the Kidron Valley. The latter dates to a much later period. The story of Absalom has been seen as part of a large document known as the succession narrative, in which the primary concern is the struggle for succession to David's throne. However, this hypothesis fails to do justice to the appendix to 2 Samuel, chs. 21-24, and the evidence for the succession theme within the Absalom narrative itself is meager. Thus caution should be exercised here, to avoid subordinating too much to this one theme. Conroy 1978, 101-5, IATS, 266-80. 2. The father of Mattathias, who was one of 2 who remained loyal to Jonathan Maccabeus when his army had been routed by the Syrians in 145 BCE. This Absalom, G.K. Absalomos, also may have been the father of the Jonathan whom Simon Maccabeus sent on a mission to Joppa in 143 BCE. 3. One of 2 envoys sent by the Jews to Lysias, Antiochus' deputy, to negotiate a peace after his defeat at Beth-zur in 164 BCE, G.K. Absalom, 2 Mac 11:17. The house of Absalom is mentioned in the Qumran commentary on Habakkuk, and it may have been an influential, pious family in the Maccabean period. Goldestein 2 Maccabezab,